You begin this 30-day creatine and whey experiment thinking you understand what will happen, yet you're about to be proven wrong. What unfolds in the first week is so counterintuitive that most people quit before the benefits even start. And if you miss this early twist, you'll misunderstand every signal your body sends for the next 30 days. Deep inside each fiber, your cells are starving for ATP long before your stomach ever feels empty. ATP is the tiny currency of life, and you burn through it faster than you realize. During training, ATP loses a phosphate group, collapsing into ADP, a molecule nearly useless for power. Your muscles hate this moment because ADP signals weakness, fatigue, and a sharp decline in performance. But creatine changes this story by donating its phosphate, like a silent benefactor, restoring lost strength. Harvard researchers describe this phosphagen system as the body's emergency generator for explosive energy production. It works within seconds, long before glucose, fat, or oxygen can catch up to your effort. You feel this as a strange surge, a power you cannot fully explain on the first workout. But here comes the twist that most people misinterpret and abandon the protocol far too soon. Within days, the scale rises quickly, sometimes 1 or even 2 full kilograms, seemingly overnight. Your instinct whispers danger, telling you this sudden weight means fat is silently accumulating under your skin. Yet Mayo Clinic physiologists repeatedly affirm that early creatine weight gain is actually intracellular hydration. The water moves inside your muscle cells, expanding them like balloons preparing for construction and repair. Scientists call this cellular volumization, a signal that tells your body growth is finally possible again. Whey protein joins the process by delivering amino acids into your bloodstream within minutes of drinking. Leucine, its most anabolic building block, flips the mTOR switch, controlling muscle protein synthesis. NIH studies show that when mTOR activates, muscles stop breaking down and begin rebuilding at remarkable speed. But that rebuilding requires a foundation, and volumized cells provide the scaffold for new tissue. Your body isn't bloated, it is preparing construction zones for metabolic renovation and structural strength. Still, fear appears because weight gain feels like betrayal when you expected visible progress instead. But here is the real twist you cannot afford to misunderstand if you want results. What feels like failure is actually the biological prerequisite for every transformation coming next. Your muscles expand internally so they can tolerate more tension, repair faster, and grow stronger. The very discomfort you doubt is the physiological handshake signaling the beginning of adaptation. So during these first 7 days, trust the upward curve before your eyes deceive you. You cannot continue this 30-day journey without confronting the fear everyone whispers about. The moment you mention creatine and whey, someone always warns that your kidneys will collapse. This fear spreads faster than the facts, shaping decisions long before science enters the room. So let's bring clarity before misinformation steals your progress or your confidence. Your body treats creatine and creatinine as 2 completely different biochemical characters with distinct roles. Creatine is the nutrient you ingest, while creatinine is the waste product created during metabolism. Doctors measure creatinine because elevated levels can suggest reduced kidney filtration capacity. But here comes the twist that confuses countless beginners and even panics experienced lifters. Creatine intake and hard training naturally raise creatinine levels without harming the kidneys at all. NIH researchers call this a benign elevation, meaning the numbers rise even when kidneys remain perfectly healthy. It's the biological equivalent of a false alarm, triggered by the very process you want to amplify. Still, most people interpret this rise as danger, abandoning supplementation before real benefits emerge. But your kidneys are not fragile ornaments. They are resilient filters built for metabolic storms. Stanford nephrologists emphasize that healthy kidneys handle creatine effortlessly, excreting excess with remarkable precision. This is why athletes with normal renal function rarely show any signs of impaired filtration. Yet here comes the real twist that deserves your full attention for the rest of this experiment. If you already have chronic kidney disease, a low eGFR, or reduced nephron reserve, the equation changes drastically. Under these conditions, extra protein and creatine can increase filtration pressure across your glomeruli. Mayo Clinic warns that high metabolic load can accelerate existing damage when kidneys are already compromised. This is not fear-mongering. It is the fine line between optimization and unnecessary risk. So you must ask yourself whether your kidneys are healthy before moving deeper into this protocol. Because the truth is simple but non-negotiable. Supplementation supports health only when the foundation is strong. Still, here is the paradox almost no one talks about in this debate. The fear of harming your kidneys often stops people from improving their health altogether. But ignorance, not creatine, is the quieter threat that follows you without making a sound. So instead of abandoning your progress, use this knowledge as a shield and not a reason to retreat. You do not need fear, you need accurate information that lets your biology thrive confidently. And with that clarity, the path forward becomes sharper, steadier, and far more empowering. By the second week, something subtle begins to shift beneath the surface of your routine. Your workouts feel heavier, yet strangely more controlled, as if your muscles recognize a new rhythm. This is the moment when creatine and whey stop acting like supplements and start behaving like partners. Most people take them together without understanding the deeper synergy unfolding inside their cells. Creatine, now fully saturating your muscle tissue, boosts your mechanical tension with every rep performed. Mechanical tension is more than force. It is the language your muscles use to request growth and repair. Stanford physiologists describe it as the molecular trigger that awakens dormant anabolic pathways inside each fiber. But tension alone cannot rebuild muscle without the raw construction materials needed for synthesis. And this is where whey protein enters like a delivery convoy, arriving exactly when needed most. Its amino acids surge into your bloodstream quickly, especially leucine, the switch that activates mTOR. mTOR is the master architect of muscle protein synthesis, dictating when growth begins or ends. NIH studies confirm that leucine-rich whey produces one of the fastest anabolic responses observed in nutrition research. But here comes the twist you might have never considered about this partnership. Creatine strengthens your ability to lift heavier, creating more microtears that require repair afterward. Whey provides the amino acids to heal those tears, converting mechanical stress into structural reinforcement. Together, they create a reinforcing loop, where strength demands repair, and repair demands strength. But another layer of synergy sits quietly beneath this obvious relationship, waiting to be noticed. Whey causes a mild insulin rise, not enough to store fat, but enough to enhance nutrient uptake. Harvard endocrinologists note that insulin acts like a shuttle, escorting creatine deeper into muscle cells. This means your creatine works better when paired with protein, even though neither depends on the other. So the combination doesn't just build muscle, it amplifies the efficiency of every gram you ingest. It's like turning on two lights in the same room and discovering they brighten each other instantly. Most beginners assume supplements work in isolation, but biology thrives on cooperation, not independence. You cannot build a house with bricks alone, and you cannot build muscle with tension alone. Construction requires materials, and labor requires fuel, forming a system of mutual reinforcement. And by week 2, this system finally settles into a predictable rhythm inside your cells. Your strength rises, your recovery improves, and your muscles feel fuller without any sense of bloat. This is not coincidence. This is biochemistry, arranged with purpose, precision, and evolutionary logic. And as you enter the next phase, the transformation will reach a place most people never expect. By the third week, an unexpected transformation begins far from your muscles and deep within your mind. You started this journey for strength, yet something entirely different begins sharpening inside your skull. Your brain, the organ consuming 20% of your body's energy, responds uniquely to creatine. Most people never realize how heavily the brain relies on ATP until it finally receives more of it. Creatine doesn't just fuel muscles, it saturates neural tissue, restoring the phosphocreatine reserve inside your cortex. Harvard neuroscientists note that this reserve stabilizes ATP levels during cognitively demanding tasks. This is why your mental energy feels cleaner, steadier, and far less fragile throughout the day. But the real twist is how your brain uses this new stability to reshape your emotional landscape. Mental fatigue, once a silent weight after work, begins to fade like fog exposed to sunlight. Stressors feel lighter, decision-making becomes smoother, and your attention sharpens without relying on stimulants. NIH research shows creatine supplementation can improve working memory, reaction speed, and mental resilience. It isn't hype, it is ATP availability transforming neural efficiency at the cellular level. But here comes the part no one tells you when they discuss creatine and whey protocols. Your dopamine system also reacts, subtly raising your ability to stay motivated through repetitive tasks. Motivation doesn't spike dramatically. Instead, it becomes consistent, stable, and surprisingly reliable. You no longer drag yourself to the gym. You arrive with a quieter sense of certainty. Whey protein contributes indirectly by improving recovery, reducing systemic fatigue that once drained mental focus. Your brain, benefiting from steadier energy, stops fighting exhaustion and starts participating in performance. It's a shift you feel not as excitement, but as cognitive clarity and emotional steadiness, the kind of clarity that makes workouts feel intentional rather than forced or negotiated. And for many people, this mental upgrade becomes the most valued outcome of the entire experiment. Not bigger muscles, not faster lifts, but a mind finally functioning at full metabolic bandwidth. So as week 3 unfolds, remember this subtle awakening happening quietly behind your physical progress. By the final stretch of this 30-day experiment, your body enters a phase few people ever reach. Creatine saturation is no longer building. It is now fully maintained inside every active muscle cell. Your lifts feel smoother, your recovery feels faster, and your strength rises with quiet confidence. This is the point where your physiology finally reveals what the past 3 weeks were preparing for. Deep within your muscle fibers, satellite cells, your body's muscle repair soldiers begin to activate aggressively. NIH researchers describe satellite cells as dormant architects awaiting the right signals to awaken. Creatine provides that signal by increasing intracellular hydration and enhancing mechanical stress during training. These cells fuse with muscle fibers, donating new nuclei to expand growth potential and repair capacity. You are not just lifting more weight, you are expanding the biological blueprint for future strength. But here comes the counterintuitive truth that frustrates countless beginners on this journey. You will not look dramatically larger, even though your body is becoming significantly stronger underneath. Some visual fullness appears, yes, but most of the transformation is structural, cellular, and invisible. Mayo Clinic notes that early visual changes lag behind functional improvements during creatine adaptation. Your muscle may feel pumped, yet the mirror remains surprisingly conservative during this phase. And this is exactly where many people quit, believing the supplement somehow stopped working. But the real twist is that week 4 marks the foundation, not the finish line, of visible change. Your recovery markers improve as creatine kinase, a sign of muscle damage, drops significantly after training. Your energy systems stabilize, allowing consistent intensity without the oscillations that once slowed your progress. Whey protein continues repairing micro-tears, turning each workout into a reliable catalyst for growth. Strength rises 5 to 15%, according to long-term studies from the Journal of Sports Nutrition. Yet the visual payoff remains subtle, quiet, and slower than social media promises or gym myths suggest. But biology doesn't operate on vanity's timeline. It operates on adaptation's silent, deliberate pace. So these final days teach the most important lesson of the entire experiment. Muscle is not built in excitement. It is built in repetition, recovery, and relentless patience. Day 30 arrives quietly, revealing how deeply your body has recalibrated its priorities today. You expected a finish line, yet you discovered a dialogue between biology and discipline. Homeostasis governs these changes, constantly negotiating tension, recovery, hydration, and metabolic stability within you. Creatine expanded intracellular water, while whey delivered amino acids repairing fibers strained during training. But supplementation succeeds only when your internal environment remains steady, supported, and consistently nourished. Hydration becomes essential now because creatine increases cellular demand without raising total water levels. Harvard researchers emphasize dehydration stresses kidneys faster than creatine when filtration remains normal function. Ignoring hydration invites cramps, headaches, constipation, and reduced performance that undermines long-term progress profoundly. Safety also matters deeply for individuals carrying silent kidney issues or reduced filtration capacity. Mayo Clinic warns protein load elevates glomerular pressure when kidney function is already compromised. Healthy kidneys handle supplementation well, but vulnerable kidneys struggle with metabolic stress and accumulation. Another conversation surrounds DHT, often linked to hair loss in genetically sensitive individuals today. NIH reviews show mixed findings, urging awareness rather than panic about creatine's hormonal influence. Whey also requires attention, especially for anyone experiencing bloating, discomfort, or lactose intolerance symptoms. Choosing isolate or hydrolyzed whey ensures clean absorption without unnecessary inflammation, slowing performance adaptation. But supplementation is merely the spark, while habit remains the engine driving long-term transformation. Creatine enhances power output. Whey accelerates recovery speed, but discipline produces meaningful physiological change. You start realizing strength emerges slowly, shaped by consistency rather than weekly visual changes. Your progress becomes sustainable when knowledge supports intuition and discipline aligns with biological wisdom. This experiment reveals your body's resilience, adaptability, and ancient intelligence guiding every internal adjustment. You no longer chase shortcuts because you recognize growth as a collaboration with physiology. The strongest change appears internally first, before the mirror learns to acknowledge your effort. You finish this journey, understanding strength begins with awareness, hydration, and attention on recovery. Now you carry the insight that discipline shapes outcomes more reliably than supplements alone. Hope this brought value to you, and I'll see you in the next one.